My True Story by Colleen Brixey. I lived in Cucklington, a small village near Wincanton, Somerset, with my 3 sisters and 4 brothers. We had a shop, a church, a school, a village hall and a pub there. It was a very pretty village to live in. You could see for miles of green fields from the top of the hill. Magnificent scenery. We had fields and woods to play in, and also lovely walks. Our parents knew everyone. The village people were very friendly, and no one had to lock a door when they went out. They trusted everyone, although we lived on a council estate. American soldiers came into our camp when the war was on. Also, children had to leave their parents and homes in London to come and stay in our village with our parents because London was so badly bombed. It was a terrible time for everyone. The evacuees were placed in anyone's home, all looking very sad. Children from the ages of 5 years to 9 years old. Brothers and sisters were parted and sent to different places, quite often not in the same village, all very scary. When I started school at the age of 5 years, a little evacuee boy called Joe sat next to me. He was a quiet and shy boy, and he was also 5 years old. We became the best of friends. In the playground, he was stood on his own, and some of the bigger boys were bullying him. He had something wrong with one of his eyes. He didn't know what to do, so I went over to him and said, "Come and play with my best friend Molly and me." Although I was the same age, I looked after him in the playground. Joe went to live with a nice lady and man, and he was told he could call them Auntie Ellen and Uncle John. They had only one son called Bertie, who was 7. Joe told me he liked them and they were kind to him. Joe had 2 brothers and a sister, and he didn't know where they went to. He never heard from his mother again, and he'd not seen his dad in a long time before he came to our village. Time went by, and Joe and me found out that both our birthdays were in December, both the same age. Mine was the 4th of December, and his was the 7th. So we made birthday cards for each other. We were such good friends. After 2 years, the children started to go back to their families, but still Joe stayed on with us at Cucklington. He used to tell me secrets about his family. Sometimes he spoke about his dad, which was not very nice and very sad, what he could remember. We became quite close, and he told me I was the best friend he'd had, and he didn't want to leave me. The teachers wasn't very kind to him and never heard anything at all from his family. He stayed in the village until he was 11 years old, and he was the only child who stayed that long. Then, one day, on a Monday, he never came to school. I wondered if he was ill, but we got told that he had a telegram on Saturday to be told he had to go back to London. I was very sad because I never had the chance to say goodbye to him. By then, I had to go to Wincanton Senior School for girls. I liked school, so I had a happy time. When I left school, I worked until I got married to Colin. We had a big family of 8 children, and it took a lot of our work to keep them all fed and clean and tidy. Colin worked hard all his life to look after us all, and I couldn't go back to work because the children took up all my time. I often spoke to Colin and the children about Joe and about what had happened to him. I always said I would love to see him again. The years went by, and all our children got married and had their children. We were getting older, and Colin had bad health. He was in and out of hospitals having operations, and by now we were in our 80s. Then, out of the blue, I had a phone call from my niece, Heather. She said she'd taken her husband, John, to Cucklington to see where she was born, and had stayed with these people who had bought 3 old cottages and made them into this beautiful big guest house. One of the cottages was where Heather was born and lived for quite a few years. One evening, Heather was talking to the man they were staying with, and the man asked if she could remember anyone who lived in Cucklington. Heather told him her grandparents had lived there until they retired and then moved to Wincanton to live. He asked her if she knew anyone called Baker, and she replied that it was her grandparents' name. Then he said, "Do you know of Colleen Baker?" "Yes, that's my auntie." "Do you know where she is?" "Yes, I keep in touch with her." "Well," he said, "I've had a man staying with us on 3 different occasions on holiday, and he's been looking for Colleen Baker for years. He said if I found anyone who lived in Cutlington in the war, can I give them his name and address and phone number? He said his name was Joe Hack." So out of the blue, Heather called to tell me all this. I was shocked to think he still remembered my name and me and wanted to get in touch with me. I told her to give him my phone number, please, and say I would love to speak to him. 1 week later, Joe rang me. He said he had never forgotten me because I was so kind and caring to him, and he always wanted to find me. He said that all the times he was living in Cutlington was the happiest time of his life, and he always remembered me as his childhood sweetheart. He said he'd been looking for me for years. He told me that when he had been sent back to London and was travelling back, he was told that his home had been bombed and his family had all gone. So he was to be taken to Dr. Bernardo's home for boys, where he spent the rest of his school life. He said he was very unhappy and it was a horrible place to live. As soon as he could, he joined the forces. After many years, he got married and had 3 sons. But after 10 years, his wife left him for someone else, and he had to bring up his children on his own. He managed by working in a village shop as a manager, which came with a house so he could manage to bring up the children on his own. As the boys grew up, they helped him in the shop. He is now married again to a lovely lady for 16 years. She helped him to find me. We phone one another quite often, and then they said they would like to come and see us, which we said would be lovely. Unfortunately, Colin died before they came, so he never had the chance to meet him. He and his wife were very nice, friendly people, and I got on so well with them. They were both so easy to talk to, and we all still keep in touch. What a wonderful thing to have happened to me. I thank God for his blessings, for allowing us the chance to meet one another again. I feel sad, though, that he had such an unhappy life, and my one regret is that we found one another too late to share all the thoughts and memories we could have if we met earlier. It would have been lovely to have met one another's families, but I'm very grateful that we had this chance. Colleen Brixey, now nearly 86 years old.